Hello, everybody, and welcome to this month's conversation with MindLeaps. You will thoroughly enjoy this conversation. On this meeting, we have Rebecca Davis, who's the founder and executive director of MindLeaps, and she is joining us from New York City. Hi, Rebecca.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. So, Rebecca, how about you share what you're going to tell us about the MindLeaps program?
Thank you so much. It's a thrill to be able to share with you more about our work. And I thought I would take the opportunity to do so with a presentation.
Mhm. Fabulous.
So this particular program, MindLeaps, is working across the continent of Africa, but we're particularly excited to be partnering with Dining for Women to increase and expand our work in Mauritania. Now, when I started traveling to Mauritania, most people had no idea where in the world I was going. So in case that's your situation too, I wanted to share with you a map that shows that Mauritania is in West Africa. And it's a very underpopulated country and not many people know about it. But the situation for women and girls there is quite severe. Of all of the countries where MindLeaps works, it's actually the most serious and there's the most need there to help these girls. In fact, 30% of girls under the age of 18 are already married in Mauritania. And there's huge family pressure on these girls to get married as quickly as possible. In fact, if they don't marry by 18, in reality, only prostitution is probably the next step for these girls. Most of the girls are illiterate. 42% of females are illiterate in Mauritania. 63% of males are illiterate, but it's even more severe for girls. The country's highly conservative, 99% Sunni Muslim, and Mauritania ranks 159th out of 189 countries on the Human Development Index. So in a situation like this, where girls are facing challenges each and every day, what can happen? This is a picture from SOS Pairs Educateurs, one of our partner organizations in Mauritania. And this is actually what it looks like on the first day of a MindLeaps class. Here you see girls who are sitting at the front, who are looking down, they don't think they're supposed to be there, they're not part of the system. And then you see all of these boys, very energetic, jumping around in jeans and very active. Our job is to make those girls equal to those boys. There's no reason why they should be sitting down with their eyes cast down. They are equivalent to those boys. This is one of the first girls that we ever worked with in Mauritania. Her name is Mashaba. We share her picture because the image and in her eyes and what you see there is how these girls come into our program and into our space. And then afterwards, they become part of this group. Mashaba was in one of our first classes in Mauritania, and then she was able to perform in front of the community as part of this group of kids and take her deserving place as a young leader. So how does this happen? How do we go from Mashaba on day one, who's shy to take her photo with us, to her becoming proud to present and dance in the community? MindLeaps looks for the most vulnerable boys and girls and attracts them to safe spaces over long periods of time. Then we use a standardized dance program to strengthen their bodies and their minds. This dance space becomes a positive social structure where we can start to integrate formal and informal education to change these kids' lives. And MindLeaps does this through dance. MindLeaps does this in a way that shows that we can use movement and data to actually create behavioral change in youth. Data is a huge component of what we do. We track how skills change in these youth to know that the program works and to know that we're creating a change which puts these children on a permanent path towards education. So what is it? What exactly is it that we do? Well, we use a curriculum that uses movement to focus on the development of life skills. We look at 2 cognitive skills, memorization and language, and we look at 5 behavioral skills: grit, discipline, or what we might call respect, creativity, self-esteem, and teamwork. One of the questions I'm asked the most often is, how can dance actually create these skills? And if it can, how do you know that it can? We were very fortunate to work with Carnegie Mellon University and Drexel University to develop a rubric, a way to measure each of those 7 skills from 1 to 7 based on the movement and the exercises that happen in our classes. For example, if we look at what self-esteem means, on day 1, Mashaba was not willing to do any movement at all by herself, and she scores a 1. By the end of our program, Mashaba might score a 6 or a 7 on a self-esteem scale, where she's able to actually verbalize and physically show all of the movements she's learned, and she's able to really execute her body and her expression to show her confidence. All of these 7 skills have a particular rubric, and teachers collect information and give scores on each of these skills every day in class. These grades, this data, is then shown on a website to stakeholders to show how these 7 skills are changing over time and whether or not the behavioral change is permanent in these youth. A typical thing that you would see on our analytics website is an S-curve graph. On the x-axis, we look at time. On the y-axis, we look at how those 7 skills change between 1 and 7. And usually we see that kids take into the program, then they have a strong uptake, and then they start to level off at a new higher level of cognitive development. This is the tool we use to make sure that we're doing in the field actually works, and that it works over many, many months and many, many years. So the MindLeaps program, as we will have the chance to deliver it in Mauritania with this support from you and from Dining for Women, and how we execute it in other countries across Africa, is a standardized dance curriculum, a data tracking system that we call Tracker, all in order to develop the social emotional skills and the emotional regulation of the most vulnerable youth in the world. This particular program that we're about to launch with your support is called Building Our Bodies and Our Lives. And we're thrilled to be bringing it to Mina, which is the poorest area in the capital city of Nouakchott in Mauritania. This program attracts 120 girls into 3 particular programs. On the education side, we will support the top 50 youth to go back into formal education. All 120 girls will participate in the dance program to develop their psychosocial skills, as well as receive counseling from Mauritanian social workers. These 120 girls will also have nutritional support daily through our partners at the SOS Pairs Educateurs Center, and they will receive clean water for the course of the 12-month program as well as thereafter. MindLeaps is proud to say that this is a program that works across the continent of Africa. Although these new 120 girls will be based in Mauritania, this program has been completed by 3,500 youth in Africa. We have the program permanently running in 5 countries and 26 African staff who travel around the continent to develop the program and to distribute the program into new communities. We're now operational in 7 refugee camps and settlements, and we have a data collection tool, as you've seen, that shows that on average, of all of these youth that go through this program, we see about a 35% change in skill development. The program in Mauritania targets one of our most important beneficiary groups, vulnerable girls. That's in addition to the work with street children and out-of-school youth and refugees. And it helps us expand our presence in West Africa. We also work in Guinea, and in East Africa, we're in Rwanda, Kenya, and Uganda. So I'm thrilled to have been able to share with you a little bit about this very unique, very different creative intervention that we found to be particularly effective with some of the most vulnerable youth in Africa. And I'm looking forward to answering some of your questions and sharing more about some of my experiences in developing MindLeaps and seeing our program grow.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. While we wait for you to come back on screen, I was wondering if you could share with us a little bit of your origin story, and members will go to your website and probably look at all the dance forms. So I'm guessing this is a whole lot of jazz, ballet, hip hop, and some freestyle. So share with us.
So dance is something that has always been a part of my life, and I think the dancers that we bring with us to do this work share something in common. For us, for whatever happened personally to us, there was a time when without dance, we would have lost our way in the world. That was true for me, and eventually dance put me back on the right track. I had the chance to study ballet and choreography on my Fulbright studies in Russia, and then start a dance company in Philadelphia. And all through that time, I was looking at how can dance really help us address some of these social issues. Then as we've grown our program in Africa and really seen how we can use dance to affect the most vulnerable youth, we've also been able to attract people like Misty Copeland from American Ballet Theater who see that similarity, who see that these kids have something. And they have this talent, they have this creativity, they have this power, but they're somehow lost in the world. And if we can tap into their self-esteem and help them believe that they can change, then it's not so difficult to pull them out of poverty. These kids are not broken kids. They may have broken circumstances, but with a slight change, we can help them cross that bridge and help them flourish.
Absolutely. I mean, don't we all say that talent is universal, but opportunities are not?
Absolutely.
So, who are these children? What kind of families do they come from? Especially, give us some context, given that slavery was quite common in Mauritania.
Yeah, Mauritania, like, even when I visited Mauritania back in 2017 for the first time, it was really a shock for me, even though I've traveled a lot in Africa. When people say slavery has ended in Mauritania, that's true to a degree, but there's still cases of it. And the kids that we work with are the descendants of slaves. And these kids are 9, 12, 15 years old, and their parents were slaves. So it's an immediate issue in Mauritania. Now, these girls especially are really forced to try to find a quick path in life. That's why there's so much pressure for child marriage, because if they're 18 and they're not married, literally prostitution is the only choice for them. Another thing that makes the communities difficult and challenging for these kids is the high divorce rates. With such a conservative culture, maybe you would think that divorce isn't common, but actually divorce is very common in the communities where we're working in Mauritania. So there's no real stable social structure for these kids and these girls. All of these pressures make them very vulnerable, and the path towards education is not so clear for them.
Okay. So this is definitely a huge cultural challenge. Can you lead us into how this space that you create for art and the creative arts, and we've had a former grantee that also used creative arts very, very effectively. Tell us how this kind of works to kind of mainstream these kids into regular schools.
Also, imagine this community where if there is a father, the father says the girl is not allowed to leave the home. If there is no father and there's only a mother, maybe the mother says that the girl needs to go out and beg on the street and try to find a way for the family to survive. Now you say, no, actually send this child to school. Those parents, mother, father, both, or one, are not going to believe that that's the right path for their little girl. So what is it that we can do to create that educational outcome, but allow this social structure to give this child the opportunity to start that path? So what MindLeaps does with SOS Pairs Educateurs is we go there and say, It's just a dance program. It's a chance for your child to be safe. It's a chance for your child to leave the home and exercise a little bit, meet other positive kids, and then go back. The family eventually approves and allows the girl to come to this class. But the class is actually a classroom. It's not a dance space. Because what happens in a dance class is we learn how to follow instructions. We learn how to respect a teacher, how to ask questions, how to answer questions, how to work with our peers. We're learning what we learn in school. And over time, the kid who originally was there because she loved dance, and the parents who said, okay, it's just dance, see that the kid is actually ready academically and mentally to pursue and succeed in formal education. Then that ask of the community becomes much more smooth and much more accepted. And the child moves from this idea of learning how to learn in a dance class to actually pursuing formal studies that can finally, fundamentally change the kid's future.
Mhm. Absolutely. So you have found this wonderful way in certain cultures to get the parents and the children to be accepting of the project that you're doing, and you're getting mainstreaming them into schools and getting there. So you have so much experience in all these different countries, and consistently you're seeing that the young people, boys and girls, our project is for girls, seem to have that behavior change at 12 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So, as we wrap up, tell us more about some of your other projects in other countries, and what are some of your future plans?
Thank you. Yeah, so we see that these kids change their behavior in about 12 weeks, but they love dance so much that often in our holistic programs in Rwanda and in Guinea Conakry, we create a performance group where they're allowed to keep pursuing that talent and that passion, even though the impact on their mindset has already been executed and succeeded. So now in our next step, what we're doing is we're training top youth who have gone through these programs to become our trainers. And we're particularly focused on developing the program in refugee camps. So working with UNHCR, we're now in 6 refugee camps in Rwanda, and we've just launched in the first refugee settlement in Uganda to help these youth who are very much lost and see no clear direction in their lives, be able to start to develop safety and a concrete version and identity through this program, and create new social networks that are positive when everything else in their life is a question mark. So our growth in refugee camps is the particular focus, but I think what's most exciting about that is putting the youth who've gone through this program and have really identified with their peers at the forefront of executing this program in their communities.
Absolutely wonderful. Rebecca, thank you for joining us. We are headed into spring across the United States, and I think your project, with its wonderful ideas, is going to bring a spring into the step of all our members and get us all moving and dancing. So, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for bringing this absolutely innovative program to our members, and we wish you the very best.
Thank you so much. I look forward to sharing updates with you and dancing with you too.
Absolutely.